Me start off today by just thanking all of you for supporting the channel. This has been a wild ride, over 3 million views in 8 months. I'm very, very excited. Never had a clue when I did the first one back in December that this would happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all the support. It's really helping to make this worth my time. All right, I'm going to talk about secrets today. Now, some of you are going to go, Randy, I already know that. And maybe you do, but maybe you don't, because we all know the big plays and the major products and the profit drivers that are coming soon. Some of those are so big, it's really hard to fathom. Increasing sales of the Model Y and the Model 3, the likely increasing margins from current low profits, the Generation 3 vehicles, and don't count Giga Mexico out yet. I know I've been reporting about the delays, the possible delays. Now Troy Teslike is talking about them. I don't know. I don't have any inside information at all. I think it's nonsense. I think we're going to find out that there's been some very great confusion and some missed signals or whatever, but I think everything's going to be fine in Mexico. And if not, I'll bet you anything there's a plan B. And I bet you it'll happen really, really quickly. All right. And this is what the street's looking at. That's it. Oh, sure. They give a bit of a look at energy storage and Dan Ives and the NACS stuff with Ford and General Motors and now Honda and everybody. That's called a little bit of attention to the charging stations, but that's still a small piece of what people are looking for in terms of what the future is of Tesla. And they have really bid Tesla up. Let's face it. It is the 8th largest market cap company in the world right now. So people do expect it to do very, very well. It has to do well just to meet those expectations. But Tesla is still seen as a car company. And I've got 10 secrets down below to Tesla's future that the street doesn't know anything about, or they know this much about, or they just don't really care enough to dig into it. Some of you smart guys might know. Some of the fans don't know. Believe me, some of the serious investors in Tesla don't know. So anyway, this is Randy Kirk. If you haven't ever hit like, this is a really good time to do it. If you like the kind of content I'm working on, you can wait till later and see whether you like the show or not. Then hit, subscribe. I'm still wondering why you haven't done that. Have you bought the books? If you haven't bought the Elon Musk mission, 80% of it is still extremely cogent. It's the kind of stuff I'm giving you today, only in much greater detail. All right. And by the way, you're going to want to see Larry Goldberg tomorrow night. As usual, we will wrap up the week on Friday and talk about what's happened all week long. So that's why you hit notify. And of course, join Patreon. Thank you so much for all the people that joined Patreon this week. It's really been fun. And we'll talk about this in a minute. All right. Let's start. The Great Midwest. Okay. That's a bigger category. The bigger category is the untapped market for Model Y and Model 3. A lot of people are beginning to think, there's not enough demand. Where's Tesla going to get enough demand to get to 1.8 this year, 1.9, wherever they're going to end up? And then next year, where are they going to get enough demand to go from 1.8, let's say, to 2.5, 2.6, 2.7 in order to keep up the 50% a year? Because the Gen 3 vehicles, they're not going to have a big impact next year. And even the Cybertruck is only going to add 100, 200,000 vehicles, maybe 250 at the most next year. That would be a stretch. So how are we going to add 400,000 or 500,000 cars next year for Model Y and Model 3? Well, let me tell you something. You can look around the world and you can just follow what's already taken place. You can go to places like the Netherlands, California. You can go to some parts of China, and you can see where it went from 5% to 10% to 35% to 50% to, in some places now, over 90% of new cars being sold are EVs. And in some of those cases, about half of those, or 60% of those, are Tesla Model Ys and Model 3s. In California, we're sitting at 25% EVs right now being sold out of the total population of cars being sold in California. Expect that to continue to increase. It's not going to slow down or stop. Has it stopped anywhere else in the world? Look at the rest of the West Coast. Look at the Florida and some of the other places where Tesla and EVs are doing well. Those are going to continue to ramp up. It is a curve that we've seen all over the world, and we will continue to see. Then there's the Midwest. I've talked about it multiple times. Let me just talk about it for a second again. In the Midwest, you do not have high gas prices, much lower than here. I want to say here. I'm in California. So if we're paying $4, the Midwest is paying $2.50. If we're paying $5, they're paying $3.50. They don't see the gasoline problem as being as big a deal. They also are much more likely to be driving pickup trucks. So this market is not as big, but believe me, they drive a ton of SUVs and even sedans. So when the Midwest the Midwest will be brought on board. They'll be brought on board not because of high gas prices. They'll be brought on board because they start to see the other benefits, like not going to the gas station at all, like not having repairs, et cetera. And you'll start to see the Midwest state after state will hit the 5%, then they'll hit the 10%, and they will go up as well. Then you've got China. You've got the same situation. Parts of China are already selling tons of cars, other parts not so much. You've got Europe. As you know, the Northern European countries selling tons and tons of EVs, not so much the Southern European countries. They will all come on board as well. So you'll see this all over the world, even in Japan. Believe it or not, eventually it'll even happen in Japan. Okay, that's number one secret. Don't forget, this ramp is not done on the Model Y or the Model 3. The numbers will continue to grow. We don't need, I know there's plenty of people that you might follow and that you might trust even, that are saying we have to have a $25,000 car, $20,000 car in order to see the continued acceleration of sales. No, we want those, and they will be fantastic and amazing, and they're part of the future. But Model Y and Model 3 will be doing just fine, thank you, in the existing markets and new markets. I didn't even mention countries that there's zero sales at this point, or that where they've just started to sell, like in Thailand and Turkey and some other places. They're barely just getting into the country. All right, number two, the energy storage numbers. Yes, there's the beginning of an understanding that power walls and megapacks are going to be important. Some people on the street get it. You probably get it more than most if you watch this channel all the time or watch some of the other guys that are talking about energy storage. Believe me, people are still not getting it. Shanghai and Lathrop together will be 40 billion in sales. Tesla total today is only 100 billion. Let that sink in. That's two factories, 40 billion in sales at full margin. Nobody knows that. Okay, you probably do. Put it in the comments below if you've really thought that through before, that right now, those two factories, which will be fully operational, one will be fully operational very shortly. Shanghai will be fully operational, say, by the middle of 25. Have you thought about that? That's 40% of the total sales that Tesla has right this minute. Has that sunk in? Now, that doesn't count power walls. That doesn't count the next factory that they're going to open, and the next one, and the next one, because they're going to open these very, very quickly now that they've got the one almost done. All right, number three, the semi-truck. I even forget about the semi-truck. I'll be writing up something and I'll go, oh yeah, the semi-truck. Nobody's thinking about the semi-truck. Those things are going to cost, let's say, a bare minimum of $250,000 each. And then there's going to be full self-driving on top of that. But let's just take the $250,000 each. How much does that compare to a $25,000 car? Oh, that's 10 times a $25,000 car. Oh yeah, okay. So in other words, every semi-truck sold is like selling 10 of this, what everybody's waiting for, the $25,000 car. No. A semi-truck is worth 10 of those. So if you sell 100,000 of those, it's like selling 1 million of the $25,000 car. Now there's a secret. Have you thought about that? If we only sell 1 million, just 1 million of those, I'm sorry, 100,000, it's like selling 1 million. What if we sell 1 million, which is what I think we'll do by the end of the decade? I think we'll be selling 1 million of those. That'll be like 10 million $25,000 cars. Is that something that's clear in your head? Put in the comments below. Oh yeah, Randy, I've known that all along. Duh. Oh yeah, and did you think about the fact that for all those cars, all those semi-trucks that are going to be sold, we need lots of charging stations. We need lots of megapacks. We need lots of grid leveling and other services that Tesla will be performing. And then there's FSD on top of that. All right, number four, increasing moats. I guarantee you're not thinking about this. In the Elon Musk mission, which you probably, maybe you've read, maybe you haven't, but you should. You get one free if you join Patreon at the $5 level. You get the audio version for free even. But if you haven't bought it yet, you should buy it. I put in 22 moats. And then later on, we came up with 2 more. But guess what? Now, moats that were not existing when we wrote the book 9 months ago, these notes are getting bigger and bigger and more important. And three that come to mind right away are the brand. Yes, the Tesla brand was important 11 months ago. The brand is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more important. And it's going to drive not only sales of cars, but it's going to drive sales of peripheral items around cars. As the charging networks get bigger and bigger, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's just going to make the brand bigger and bigger and more important. Number two, cash. Yes, Tesla had a lot of cash 12 months ago, but it wasn't like it is now. It isn't where you have $23 billion in the bank and no debt. That is a massive moat. Nobody else has that. No other car company comes close to having that kind of a moat. And then experience. Yes, Tesla had a lot of experience building cars a year ago, but they have 12 months more experience now. They're getting better and better and better at building cars, and they're just moving away from the others in terms of their capabilities with EVs, where the other companies, they haven't even caught up yet, and Tesla is moving even further away, and pretty much everybody acknowledges that. All right, so those are three moats that I guarantee you're probably, tell me in the comments, let me know, did you think of those? Number five, return on invested credit. I talk a lot about this. We talked a little bit about it in the book. I've talked a little bit about this on the show from time to time, but let me tell you that Tesla has already got a return on invested credit rating of about 30, which only Apple is really significantly ahead of them at about 50. So that means that for every buck that Tesla invests in a factory, in a piece of equipment, in advertising, every dollar that they invest, their return on invested credit is significantly higher than any of their competitors, basically than almost any other company on the planet. That return on investment credit is massive and will continue to be something that drives value years and years and years into the future. It is an understated reason of why Tesla already has the high PE it does right now. Number six, the data. Oh yeah, people bring up the data from time to time, but the country, the economy, the world now is data driven. You've heard that, right? Nobody has the data on the automobile industry like Tesla does. I'm not just talking about the data that they need to make FSD work. I'm talking about the data in terms of driving habits, the data in terms of where people go, the data in terms of how long they're in the car, how long they're not in the car, the data in terms of what causes accidents, the data, it just goes on and on and on. And that's just about the driver and the car, the data about when people will buy and when they won't buy at a certain price. I mean, the data they have is so much more than any other car company has. It's not even a close contest. People don't talk about how all that data helps them to create the next car, helps them to be more actively involved with the customer after they purchase the car, and helps them to be able to price and bill, et cetera, et cetera. You get it. All right. Number seven, charging stations. Why they matter way more than people are talking about. Okay, so yes, it's going to be, I don't know, $5 or $10 billion a year in revenue. It'll be, who knows, 10%, 15%, 20% operating profit from that. And yes, that's important and it's good, but it's never going to be 100 billion and it's never going to be 200 billion. It's going to be 10. I think it will probably be more than 10. Let's say it's even 20 billion. That's one Lathrop. How many times do I have to say, if the charging stations do really well, and they really put a lot of them out there, and they get a lot of business from non-Tesla cars, et cetera, they do really, really, really well, and they hit 20 billion in sales per year, that's one Lathrop. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so, but what else do they get from the charging stations? Well, what did I just talk about? The data. They know, why do you think they're putting these charging stations in the right places? They just announced today they're going to put them in 2,000 Hiltons across the country. Well, what did it turn out? If you want to have a relationship with rental car companies, then boy, you better have charging stations at hotels. Well, how about Hiltons? That'd be a great place. And even if you're not staying at the Hilton is probably just down the street in Hotel Row in whatever town it's in. So look for more deals like that with other hotel chains. I'm sure they'll be coming. So number one, the data in terms of where do people need a charging station? Then once they come to the charging station, how long do they stay? How much do they use? How long does it take them to fill up? What do they do while they're there? I mean, the data, huge amounts of data. Nobody else has this data. No, then that with regard to the charging stations, you also have the brand buildup. I mentioned that above, but let's just talk about it for a minute. Drive into one of these beautiful charging stations that are being created by Tesla right now with 60, 70, 80, 100 stalls, with the canopies, with the whole thing. It looks really nice. I mean, yeah, not so great to go into a parking lot, parking garage at some mall and search around to try to find the charging stations. Those are not beautiful and great, but these units that they're putting in now in the travel destinations, beautiful, just going to enhance the brand. And now they're going to start putting in other useful things in terms of convenience. And so that's the C part of 7, the convenience that this is creating for everybody in terms of the experience with an EV car. That is going to build right into the brand. It's going to build right into the feeling that people have about Tesla. And then the free energy future. They will eventually all be driven, they'll all have solar power, they'll have batteries. So basically Tesla will be using free energy in order to sell energy. They'll have to, because the cost of energy is going to come down anyway, everywhere, certainly by the end of the decade, maybe into the beginning of next decade, because of some things we've talked about on other channels, other episodes. And then finally, the income from additional services. So as they put more additional services in these bigger locations, those are going to be revenue streams as well. Again, it will be a minor deal. All right, number 8 of my secrets, the insurance business. Oh yeah, the insurance business. You forgot all about the insurance business. Everybody's forgotten about the insurance business because they don't keep opening up new states, because these states, the lobbying from the other insurance companies is keeping them from being able to do what they want to do, like in California. So they have an insurance license in California, but they can't use the method in California to drive down the price of basing the insurance off of your actual driving habits, as opposed to your age, your IQ, and whether, I don't know, where you're located, what city you're in. It makes no sense, but they're having trouble getting licensed. They're having trouble getting the right kind of insurance set up so that they can charge less. Where they are charging less, obviously they're doing extremely well. But what else happens with regard to that whole insurance thing? Oh yeah, data. They get data, they use the data in order to be able to make the insurance cheaper. Then they get the data in terms of how people are driving. They get the data in terms of what people are willing to pay. Then if there's an accident, they're getting all the data with regard to the whole repair process. Yeah, more and more data. So yes, there's the insurance business, which I've seen some calculations. I pay I'm old, and I pay like $100 a month for my insurance. It's $1,200 a year. So if I was paying $1,200 a year, and I don't know, there's 1 million people doing that, that'd be $1,200,000. Yeah, I know it turns into real money. Anyway, so then there's number 9, the supply chain dominance. Yeah, when we think of supply chain with regard to Tesla, what we mostly think about is, oh yeah, they had it when they needed it, when nobody else did. They're really good at this supply chain stuff. Yeah, but that's not as a business owner, that's not the key. The key is they know where the bodies are buried. They know how to get the price down. They are dominating supply chains because they're the big gorilla in the room. Everybody wants to sell to them. That supply chain dominance means if somebody has a great new idea, they're going to come to Tesla first because they want to sell Tesla. They don't want to sell Ford, who sold, 39,000 cars in the last quarter or something. It's really low numbers. They're not going to go to those guys. They're going to go to Tesla. Now Tesla turns them down. No, sorry guys, it's not good enough. Well, now they'll go to the other guys. But when you have this kind of supply chain dominance, it's a massive additional, call it a moat if you want. It's not really a moat. It's just a really good thing to have. And it helps you across the board in terms of making sure you get it, in terms of getting it on time, in terms of your willingness to work closely to make things happen in the future. I mean, everything about it, this supply chain dominance is huge in terms of the future of Tesla. And then finally, the vertical moat. I saw a lot of conversation over the last few days about Tesla and how important it is for them to be vertical. And it is important for them to be vertical. But I didn't write a book on it, but I wrote an article that was published in Inc. magazine on verticality years and years and years ago, because I took my company from virtual to vertical, and that was the title of the story. I guess you could still find it. I'm not sure. I haven't looked in a while. Anyway, but the reality is that your verticality only works when it works. You're not going to be vertical in tires, probably not going to be vertical in the rubber that goes on the windshield wiper. There are things that it makes sense to be vertical and things that it doesn't make sense to be vertical. And when you're Ford or General Motors and you're only building 30,000 cars, or even if you're bigger, you're Volkswagen and you're already making 200, 300,000 electric vehicles, you still aren't big enough compared to Tesla to be able to go vertical in some of these areas. Or you need to make a big risk to go vertical because you're not necessarily going to save money. You're not actually necessarily going to make it as well as the manufacturers who have been doing it forever make it. So no, this vertical thing is not a slam dunk. It is Tesla's skill sets, their amazing engineering, their desire to get everything exactly right, their listening to their customers, et cetera, that allows them to take this vertical approach and make it work for them. It won't work for everybody. Trust me on this. Okay, so I hope that those 10 things were illuminating and useful. Hit like if you liked it, all that kind of jazz. Be absolutely certain you check out the earlier conversation with Brian White today. Had more than a few people in the comments saying that they laughed out loud. So anyway, I'll put a card right here for that one. And then hit notify to be sure that you listen to Larry and I tomorrow night as we talk about the weekend review. That's really something you're going to want to do. Okay, now you want to join Patreon, right? You've been saying to yourself, yeah, Randy, I really want to support your channel. I want to be a producer on your channel. I can afford the $10 a month. I just never get around to it. I even don't mind paying the $10 a month. It's just, it's just one more thing to do. Yeah, but see, if you got one of these for free, wouldn't that change everything? I mean, wouldn't it? We've already had a whole bunch of people sign up for Patreon so they can get one of these for free. So if you sign up at the $10 level, you get this amazing bottle opener. Okay, it's a refrigerator magnet. Okay. It's what really matters is it's a Cybertruck, and it looks very cool. It's really well done. It is the same thickness as the real Cybertruck will be. You can tell your friends, look here, that's how thick. This is the same kind of stainless steel. Well, not exactly, but the car will be stainless steel. It'll be this gauge. It's fun. It's a fun thing to talk about. So you need one of these. You can get it by signing up for Patreon. Now, let's say for some reason, you just don't want to join Patreon. It's like, I don't need one more thing. It's just not, no, I'm never going to sign up for your Patreon, Randy, but I really want one of those Cybertrucks. And I really have about 27 people on my gift list for Christmas or for birthdays or for something that I really need a gift box that I can, send that to them. It'll really be beautiful. And maybe I'd like to do it in camo instead of in regular. By the way, when you buy these, whether it's on Patreon or whether it's not on Patreon, let's say that you're just going to buy it straight up. Please note, there's a place where you put in the notes. Put in the notes, regular or plain or stainless only or not camo or camo. Let me know which one. Saves me a lot of trouble to have to send you an email, then you got to respond to the email. That slows me from shipping it out to you. You'd want to get it really soon. Okay, what about the cost? Yes, I know this looks like it's worth at least $39.95. Some people say it might even be worth $50, but guess what? It's only $25. So send your $25. All the information's down below. PayPal.me/Randy Kirk, all small letter, all small, no caps. Okay, that's how you do it. Or Patreon, you sign up at Patreon and sign up at the $10 level. That's how you get it. Simple as that. I'm sure I had a record day yesterday. The day today has already started off. We're about 50% of the way to another record today. So keep them coming, support the channel and get yourself a really cool little bottle opener at the same time. It's Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.